everyone, I'm Kiwi Kitty, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you haven't been here before. Today I am going to, well, I've already done it, but I'm going to go over the goals that I've set for quarter 4 of 2024 with all of you. I'm using this printout. I got this from the channel Joshi Karen. I'm going to put at the very least, I'm going to put a URL in the description. I'm still figuring out links with YouTube. It's giving me a little bit of trouble. Some kind of identity verification is required or something. I'm not really sure. But at the very least, I will include a URL to Joshi's channel and a bonus URL for the specific video that I watched of hers where she went over how to use all of this. This is a 26-step goal setting and planning system. Originally, I was going to just go ahead and use SMART goals. That's the system that I used for several years. But it doesn't really work for me. It's a system that I just kept using because it was the system that everybody told me I should be using. And I kept thinking to myself, oh, it's not working because I'm doing something wrong. Clearly, it's my fault that this isn't working. For the last few years, I haven't been doing any goal setting at all. I've been very strictly focused on taking care of my partner who passed in June. And so now, the general and vague goals for life that I did have to be completely reworked because they were all centered around the idea that I was going to meet those goals with my partner. And as I talked about in my previous video, the whole point of this channel is to recover from grief and find myself. Setting new goals is part of finding myself. So, if you want your own copy of this goal setting list, you can get it over on Joshi's channel. This is a free download that she has available, so I will remember to put that link in. Moving forward, here we have my journal. I started this journal at the beginning of 2024. You can see that it's got some weird, I don't even know what this is. That scrapes off. This is my Heartsong Creations Volume 1 journal. Heartsong Creations is an overarching brand name for every single project that my partner and I did together. The concept behind Heartsong Creations was finding your passions and finding who you are and growing into the person that you want to be. So even though my partner is gone, I'm still holding on to a lot of that, value-wise. Now, the majority of this journal is practically useless at this point. As I said, I started it at the beginning of 2024, and if we look at the table of contents, it looks like it's all general stuff that would be still usable. But when you actually go through the pages, some of them I'm just going to skip through because they were very personal pages. Like my astrology profile, I can still use that. And I do use it actually as sort of I don't use it to be like, oh, this is my personality. It's more that I use it as sort of this is inspiration for the kind of person that I want to be. I have lots and lots of pages on that. This is my full astrological profile. So, I also made a little list, collection, whatever you want to call it. If I can just scoot this over. I don't have a lot of space. But this is my favorite things list. It has food, music, hobbies, holidays. I put my favorite cheese on here. It's just a whole bunch of my favorite things, just very random. And then here is where I set my long-term goals. And these were set as 10-year goals. Even though they are still technically valid goals that I could still aim for, they were set with a life with my partner in mind. And so I want to reassess them because, as you can see, these are just very brief summaries of the goals themselves. I want to reassess these and figure out what has changed for these goals and what can stay the same. That's not something that I'm working on today. Today I'm just working on my Q4 2024 goals. Never ended up filling out this page. Okay. Here's where things really changed. My daily task list, weekly task list, and monthly task list. A lot of these, the weekly and monthly things can stay. A lot of the daily things have to be completely reassessed because my literal job that I was paid for the last 5 years was taking care of my partner. I was paid through her insurance, and my daily task list was governed by that fact. So that's something that has to be completely reassessed. I have a master to-do list here that is things that come up as they come up, as they're not scheduled, they're not repeat tasks, they're just things that have to be done once and be taken care of. Here I have basically plans for what I needed for each room in our house. I still might actually do a lot of this because none of this was dependent on my partner and I still live in this house. So, something to consider working on later. I had a page for every single room plus my garden. I had set my monthly budget, which is now going to have to be changed again. Take off the income streams that we had, change them. Get rid of the majority of the fixed expenses because I canceled a whole bunch of subscriptions literally just because I lost 2 sources of income. This was my kitchen inventory from the beginning of the year. I have no idea how much of this is still valid. It's the pantry, the fridge. This one is not what we have in the house. This was what we needed to keep in the house. And like half of these things can be knocked off because they were medical supplies for my partner. Holiday plans and ideas can probably stay. Eventually we'll get to where I'm actually planning to go for the day. I just kind of wanted to give you guys a flip through of this to see like where I was 2 months ago and just how much has to really change. This is a project I'm working on for Patreon. It's a long-term project. Very long-term. Very, very long-term. Okay. I don't know how much of that you guys want to see. Here, I updated a new index for the journal because I'm restarting everything and it's coming out. My quarter at a glance, my future log. Oh, here we go. I did actually set goals for quarter 4 before now. And I kind of, I just went through this whole process of setting goals tonight, and I didn't take some of these into consideration because I couldn't find this page. Would you believe that? Probably not. Okay. So the goals that I set at the beginning of August, no, not the beginning of August, the beginning of July for quarter 4. Right after my partner had passed, I was just realizing that everything needed to change. I set 4 major goals for myself. My cleaning goal is to clean the entire house. My creative goal is to set up an art studio or cozy den space that feels safe. My health goal is to lose 10 pounds, and my small business goal is to establish a presence on Patreon and or Ko-fi. I'm actively working on all 4 of these. Now that I'm looking at them, I've been working on them. I have no idea how I missed this page. Otherwise, I would have referenced it more heavily when I was setting my new goals. I will be flipping back to this page in a little bit here while we go over the new goals that I set. These all still pretty much work. So I'll be referring back to this page in a little bit. I'm going to keep my hand here to mark it. I have my 25 things to do by 2025. Instead of 25 things in 2025, I have 25 things that I want to do before the new year. I have done none of them yet, but that's okay because I still have a few months to go. I also have my wish list that I add to whenever I see something that I want. I have my books to read and movies to watch by the end of the year. The reason that I gave myself 12 whole slots for books is that I'm a very fast reader. So I absolutely can read 12 books in 3 months. The main challenge to reading these books before the end of the year is actually just going to be getting my hands on them and figuring out what I want my last 5 books to be. I still need to print out my little movie thing for this line of movies. And I'm planning to watch these with my Discord server every Wednesday. And I'll talk about that more as we get closer to time for that. Movie nights won't be starting again in my Discord server until September something. Whatever the first Wednesday of September is. Got my August dashboard and my habit tracker for the month. And then this next section has mostly been figuring out how I want to do my daily and weekly logging. As you will see, I have my first week of the month was daily, and that was getting a lot of extra space that I wasn't using. So then I just went to this weekly, this one over here. This is this week. We're here. Well, we're here now. And these are little waterfall slots to fill in. This is going to be next week. I'm going to try this Alistair method of doing tasks. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, but it's something to try. The week after that, I just have basically little slots. And the week after that is this big colorful spread. Mostly for this month, I've just been playing around with things and playing around with creativity and figuring out what I like. Because it's been a long time since I've really sat and thought about what do I like. So here's my content planning page for August. I've got post ideas and content types and project ideas, action steps for different actual tasks for putting out my content. I have my post schedule, which you get a brief look at, and now you don't get a look at it anymore. Okay, here we've gotten to this point. This is where I actually started working with the list from Joshi Corinne. I started with a brainstorm for my goals, and again, I didn't remember about, and I've lost the page again. Can you believe that? Is this it? There it is. I didn't remember about this. Despite the fact that I didn't remember about this, I did stick pretty close to it. So I know that I put lose 10 pounds here, and lose 10 pounds is here in my brainstorm mind map thing. I had... Did I write it in here? No. Somehow cleaning the house didn't show up in the mind map, but it showed up pretty much everywhere else. It's very strange. Setting up my studio space. Oh, that's my memorial from my partner. Studio space didn't make it over here either. Weird. Got to lose 10 pounds. And I did have monetized content, which would be my Patreon and Ko-fi. Make 100 sales, which I use my Ko-fi shop for. So, I mean, some of these things that I had over here did make it over here. And I'll just kind of use a combination of the two of them to really figure it out. Going down the list for the goal setting and planning, printable. This is step 1, is doing this brainstorm. You can do it as a mind map, you can do it as a list, you can do it as a tea tree. Pretty much any method of brainstorming that works for you, just do that. It doesn't have to be a mind map. I did the mind map because I've always wanted to successfully do a mind map. I'm terrible at these. These are not my personal method of brainstorming normally. Usually I just do lists. I make a lot of lists. But I wanted to give the mind mapping a try. Joshi does it in her video with this list. I figured I might as well give it a shot. I don't like it. I'm probably never going to do it again. I don't know why mind mapping doesn't work for me. I think part of the reason is that I tend to make the lists with these smaller tasks first. So starting with a big major topic and then breaking it into categories and then breaking those categories into smaller things is essentially backwards from how I normally do things. Normally I do the smaller things and then sort those into categories and go from there. So, like I said, whatever way works best for you is gonna be what works best for you. I just wanted to give this a try. Number 2 on the list is to write a list of things and feelings that you value. So I did that on this page over here. These are my values. I went with happiness, family, my cats, wellness, and financial stability. And then it also said to brainstorm what you can do to embrace these values in the it says the year ahead on the list, but I'm saying the time block that you're setting goals for. So I made a little list under each of these values for things that I can do to focus on those values. Next was to write a list of each of your life areas. Joshi Corinne uses the level 10 life model, and I really like the level 10 life model, so I went ahead and went in for it. I sorted my life into physical health, mental health, emotional health, social, spiritual wellness, finances, family, environment and home, fun, and career. And as you can see, probably all of my scores for these are very low right now. Part of it is because I am still in the grieving and mourning process. Part of it is because over the last few years I have lost connection with myself and these different aspects of my life. So I'm starting at a very low point, which means for most of these, the only way to go is up. So there's that at least. That's a positive thing. The next thing on the list is to write a list of big and small things that are bothering you in your life. So I did that over here. I don't have a big long list, but it is like the things that are like causing me the most trouble right now. These are all things that I can do something about, luckily. House pests. Oh, the house pests. I'm going to be contacting a pest control company as soon as I find one that will service my area. Boxes are piled up. I'm going to be taking care of that over the next couple of months. I have an action plan for it that I'll go over in a minute. Everything is disorganized, which will fit in with my boxes piled up action plan. My clothes don't fit me right, and that bothers me. People that I see out in public say that I look fine, but I personally don't feel like I look fine. So it's partly that I don't like the style of clothing that I have. It's partly that I prefer looser clothing over form-fitting clothing, and most of my clothes are very form-fitting. And some of it is just that I have a very poor body image, and that's something that I need to work on. We have a lot of food waste in our house. It's very frustrating. I will buy food and then I will forget that it's there, or I buy it and I cook it and then we have leftovers and those don't get eaten. Sometimes I'll buy something thinking that we're going to eat it and then we don't eat it, or plans change. It's a whole thing, but it's definitely something that I want to work on avoiding. I struggle with routine, and it is such a backwards kind of thing because I have ADHD, and routine is something that I need to feel secure. But as an adult, without currently having a real job, I have no sense of routine, and I struggle with building my own routines. So that's something that I'm working on. Noisy neighbors, I wasn't sure if I was going to put on the list because I live in the middle of nowhere, so you'd think that noisy neighbors wouldn't really be a problem, but that is false. I live on this dead-end road, and I have here's me, and a neighbor, and a church, and more neighbors. And then that's it. And there's nothing across the street except for woods, and there's nothing behind us except for more woods. But my neighbors will often have guests that they'll either drive up to the house and start blasting their horn, or they'll play really loud music, or, they hang out outside and they talk really loud. And in the long run, these are small things that don't really matter, but they still bother me. And my plan for dealing with that is to find my headphones when it happens and play music so that I can't hear it. Because they have every right to enjoy their lives, just like I have every right to enjoy my life. And it is better for everybody involved if I just play music on my headphones than go start picking fights over stupid things that don't ultimately matter. No income bothers me. It bothers me a lot. I have been doing some job hunting. Another issue with living kind of in the middle of nowhere is that the closest place to walk is about an hour's walk for me, mostly uphill, and I have no car. So I'm not fond of that. I've been trying to find some work from home opportunities to see if that works for me. But in the end, I'm really just kind of hoping that the content creation thing works out for me. But I'm not going to count on it, so I am still looking for other options. And the last thing that's bothering me is that we have too many things in the house that we don't use. It's part of the reason that so many boxes are still packed up, and it's part of the reason that the house is so cluttered and full of pests. So that is something that I will be working on moving forward. The next thing on the list is to brainstorm things you want to do or experience by the end of your life. So that, again, I have a very short list. I've never really gone in for like bucket lists or things to do before the apocalypse or things to do before such and such, whatever goalpost. I'm just not, I've never really thought that far ahead in my life. So doing this was kind of hard for me. But I did write down a few things. I want to go to Disney and Universal Studios. I want to visit Japan during springtime and see a cherry blossom festival. This one's really ambitious. I want to hike the Appalachian Trail, which I am not outdoorsy and I am not fit. So that is a while out there, but I do really still want to do it. Just because I'm not a particularly outdoorsy person, I do appreciate nature, and I know how to hike and camp and all that survival stuff. It's just been a very long time since I've done it. I want to buy a house and a car. I want to go on vacation in Ireland. That has been a goal since I was, 13, 14 years old. I want to visit every state in the US, which I'm already well on my way there. I've been to quite a few states in my life, so I need to get one of those little maps where I can just mark them all off. And I want to publish a novel. That's been a goal of mine since I was 7. So that one's a long-running goal. The next thing on the list is to write a list of things that make you uncomfortable or outside of your comfort zone. Pretty much everything outside my comfort zone has to do with social situations. I am not a social person. Being around other people makes me extremely nervous and anxious, but it hasn't always been that way, and I would like it to not be that way again. I would like to get myself used to social situations again. Next thing is to write a list of the things that you want to keep doing, start doing, and stop doing. These lists are very short for me because I couldn't think of anything. Not because I don't have things that would go on these lists, but because as soon as I started writing these lists, my brain just kind of stopped working. I do know that I want to keep doing meal planning, crafting, writing fiction, and blogging. Those are 4 things that are working very well for me. I know that I want to start spending time outside, taking more photos and videos, and doing monthly challenges and daily art prompts. And I want to stop leaving boxes laying around. Every time that I empty a box, whether it's from a delivery or, for example, we get 12 and 24 packs of colas. Anytime that those get emptied, we just leave them. I want to stop doing that. I want to stop canceling plans, and I want to stop impulse shopping, especially because I currently have no income. When I have regular income again, we can revisit impulse shopping, but we probably still shouldn't do it. Moving on down the list, we go into the next section, which is selecting goals. We're supposed to go through all the previous prompts and sort things into the different themes that they all kind of fit in. Most of mine fit into 5 different themes of hobbies, planning and journaling, family, self-care, and making memories. And then we are to write a list of the goals. Now, 4 goals, as you may recall. Come on. Were clean the entire house, set up an art studio / cozy den space that feels safe, lose 10 pounds, and establish a presence on Patreon and or Ko-fi. I changed this, and I'm actually I'm okay with the fact that I changed it. My goals, the goals that I decided on. I kept cleaning and organizing the house from my original 4 goals. And then one of my other original 4 goals was to set up my studio space, but I think that starting by cleaning and organizing the house, and then once that goal is met, moving on to setting up my studio space will actually work out a lot better for me. This goal is to set up a memorial space for Jane. That was my partner. It's just really important to me to have a memorial space for her. I'm not saying that everybody should have a memorial space for their lost loved ones. But when I was growing up, my grandparents had a memorial space set up for my uncle who passed away. And even though we never did anything with that space, it was still a prominent part of our home. And I want to do something like that for my partner. I want to have that for her, and I want to have it for myself as well. And then my other 2 original goals were, I already forgot. Losing 10 pounds and establishing a presence on Patreon and or Ko-fi. Weight loss has been an active goal of mine for so long now that I don't even want to keep it as something that's written down. It's something that I might revisit later, but constantly setting myself this goal and constantly not meeting it is just very discouraging. So I'm actually going to save that as a later me goal to review. And then establishing the Patreon and or Ko-fi. I feel like these other goals that I've set come before that, basically. And so my actual 3rd goal for this coming quarter is to add 12 major art pieces to my portfolio. A lot of my art is super outdated. It doesn't reflect my abilities as an artist anymore. And I really just want to get my portfolio built up again. So, the next step on the list is to mark each of these goals as, well, not mark them, but rate on a scale of 1 to 5 how enjoyable, practical, interesting, and challenging they are. I didn't do that when I was getting everything set up. So let's take a moment and do that now. So, setting up a memorial space for Jane. Um, Enjoyable is kind of an odd category for this one. I am going to mark it a 3 out of 5 though. Not because it's like, oh yeah, I'm setting up a memorial space for this dead person, but more of it's something that I know is going to bring me peace of mind. Practical. I guess it depends on how you define practical in this sense. It's not something that's going to really do anything for me in the long run, but it is going to be valuable as far as my emotional and mental wellness goes. So I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5 in practicality, just on my personal scale. Interesting, I'm going to give a 4 out of 5. And challenging, I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 5 because it's not only going to be challenging to actually do this task, but it's going to be emotionally draining to do this task. So, we'll get to that in a minute. Cleaning and organizing the house. Enjoyable? No. I don't enjoy cleaning. I actually really hate cleaning, which is part of the problem. Practical? Yeah. 5 out of 5 on that one. Interesting? I'm going to rate that a 3 because there are so many unpacked boxes that haven't been unpacked in years that I'm kind of curious to know what we actually have in the house. And challenging is going to be another 5 out of 5 because I am terrible at cleaning and I'm terrible at sticking to a cleaning plan. Adding 12 major art pieces to the portfolio. Enjoyable? Hell yes. I love doing art. It's one of my favorite things to do. Practical? It's going to go a long way towards my actual career goals, like later career goals. So I'm going to mark that also a 5. Interesting. Yeah, these are just all 5s, I think. It's definitely going to be challenging because I'm challenging myself to do 12 in 3 months. And over the past couple of years, I've been lucky if I've done 1 in 3 months. So, after that, the next thing to do is to give a reason for setting these goals. And Joshi actually writes on her little list, it's 26 steps. She writes on the list to think of one compelling reason for each goal. And she gives a reason for that in her video where she goes over her goal setting thing. If I remember right, it was essentially that a person is more likely to stick to the goal if they have one solid reason for doing it rather than several waffling reasons why to do it. So, one solid reason for each of these goals. Setting up the memorial space. How do I want to phrase this? This establishes a space. It establishes a physical space for me safely express and explore my grief. It sounds like I'm being very flippant when I say that. Grieving is hard for me, and it always has been. When I was a teenager, I went through a series of several losses in a row, just like bam, 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 bam. And at the time that I experienced those losses, I was also going through a period of significant mental and emotional trauma. And so I personally don't believe that I ever properly grieved those losses. And it's had an effect on me in my adult years, to the point that I feel that I don't grieve properly and I feel guilt about not grieving properly. So, setting up this space and giving myself like a physical, solid, here is where you grieve kind of place, I think is going to be a significant boost for me in the long run. Why is it a goal to clean and organize my house? So many reasons. One solid reason. One solid reason. To give myself a clean and safe environment I spelled that horribly wrong. Give myself a clean and safe environment to return to after stressful events and situations. I get super stressed out when I leave the house, and then I come back to a very messy house, so I'm even more stressed out. So, that's a pretty solid reason, I think. And then, why did I set the goal for 12 major art pieces? That one, I want to expand my portfolio for applications for zines, bangs, and other major art projects. I mostly apply to zines as a writer, but I would like to apply as an artist, and I can't do that if I don't have a portfolio to apply with. So, that's an important goal to me. The next several steps involves making the actual plan for the goals. I've written them out for all three of my goals. Each page is for a goal. So here I wrote my ideal outcome, my milestones and metrics of success, so how I know that I'm accomplishing this goal, my actions lists for each of them. For each of my action lists, I did an Alastair method. I write out the tasks, and then for these first two, I wrote out whether I do the task once and it's done, on a monthly schedule, on a weekly schedule, or on a daily schedule. For the art portfolio, I still use the Alastair method, but instead of doing it once monthly, daily, weekly. I did all of the tasks that I would need to do for each piece of art, and then I just have a column 1 through 12 for completing each of those tasks for each piece. After the action list is the resources needed for each goal. I didn't want to make these big, huge, long lists for my resources, so I just gave myself little shortcuts that I'll refer to in other places. And actually, the only goal that has a monetary resource requirement is actually the memorial space one, because I still need to get a proper urn. I still need a memorial cabinet, and I need a table to actually set everything on. So I set myself that I need $200 to $500 just for that goal. And so I will be using some money set aside from sales and things to work towards that goal. And then the last section is dedicated to listing out the action plan for getting all of these goals completed, and your daily, weekly, and monthly tasks to keep you on track for completing those goals. Most of mine are weekly tasks, just things that have to be done every week. Excuse me. And they mostly apply to the actual cleaning goal. A lot of the tasks for getting Jane's memorial area set up are one and done tasks. And a lot of the tasks for completing the 12 art pieces are one and done tasks. So most of this is just dedicated to the cleaning goal. Now obviously I didn't go through all 26 steps in this video. I did do all 26 steps, and I have, it's all either written out or some of it is not written down, it's just living in my head. But I mean, as it is, it took up so many pages. And I'm happy with how this turned out. And in probably a month or so, we'll revisit this and see how well I'm doing as far as meeting my goals goes. But thank you all for sitting through my rambling and my journal exploration. It was very nice to have all of you here, and I will see you again next Friday, probably about the same time of whatever upload time this goes to. I'm going to try and make it a little bit more consistent. Right now, my plan is just upload it by 8 p.m. I'm going to come up with something a little bit more consistent in the future. Right now, I'm still figuring it all out. But thank you again. It was nice having you here, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.